Hello there guys, from Buenos Aires, Argentina and Retiro Railway Station. Well, I'm here today to take a train on the Belgrano-Norte line all the way up to Villa Rosa. Now, I did think about going to Tigre, but that was like one of these commuter trains, and to be perfectly honest, when I saw this train, and it looks like it's loco-hauled, then it's going to be a far more interesting journey, isn't it? In my opinion, anyway. No, honestly, it's a bit of a faff trying to get tickets. From what I believe, you can only buy tickets for the trains with a Super card, one of these. And honestly, I've been to a few cities on my travels, and this is the most useless piece of card I've come across. It seems to be hemorrhaging money. You have to load it cash only, for me anyway, and then you have to buy tickets with it, but then pay cash if you need anything extra on it. And then when I try to use it at the gate, it doesn't seem to work. Fortunately, the ticket prices are like really cheap. I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go along, but for now, I'm just waiting for the engine to couple itself up to the front of the train and get on board, see what the coaches are like, and enjoy the journey. Hopefully I'll see you in a bit. Retiro railway station consists of three main terminals: Retiro Mitre, Retiro San Martin and Retiro Belgrano, depending on which line you're taking. Now, the country's biggest bus station is also just next door, and there are good connections with the city's metro network if you can get your card to work. The concourse we are in is the Retiro Belgrano building, designed in the French neoclassicism style apparently, and built by the British Cordoba Central Railway in 1912. It was declared a National Historic Monument in 2021. The terminal serves the Belgrano-Norte line, and although it was relatively quiet at the time of my visit, it is the fourth busiest railway station in Argentina. Well, it depends on the time of day though, doesn't it? And yeah, the frequency of the trains would suggest that there is plenty of demand for it. Now, I was trying for the 11:40 train this morning, the one in the middle, and that would take me all the way up to Villa Rosa, the final stop on the service. So back on the platform, I watched our locomotive make its way up the line before switching points and heading back down to couple onto what was now the front of the train. The Belgrano-Norte line is operated by the privately owned company Ferrovias, whose name you can see is prominently displayed on the rolling stock and locomotives. And after much extensive searching of the internet, I believe our locomotive to be an EMD G22CU, a meter gauge diesel electric built by General Motors, who exported around 250 of them to Argentina in the early 1970s, and they've been in operation ever since. And with just a couple of minutes to go, I thought it best to jump on the train. The first door I chose led me into what I think was probably the kind of goods wagon immediately behind the loco, though it was completely empty at this point, apart from what appeared to be a dead body over at the far end. Well, I decided that probably wasn't the carriage for me this time round, and I tried another door a little bit further down. Now, this was more like it, people sitting on seats in what I would describe as a basic rather than plush and comfortable interior, but we'll have a look at the seat in a little bit more detail in a minute. We crawled out of the terminus pretty much on time for our trip up to Villa Rosa. The line is 34 miles in length, meter gauge as I mentioned, and with 22 stops including our final destination, was timetabled to take 1 hour and 30 minutes. Now, the first section of the line sees us heading northwest out of the station and past the modern railway control centre here. Now, sitting on this side of the train, unfortunately, it mainly gave you views of this fence, which seemed to go on forever and ever. But the train wasn't going that fast. Top speed for these locomotives is just 65 miles per hour, so it certainly wasn't going to be any kind of express service. When I switched sides just in time to capture some shots of the Aeroparque International Jorge Newbery Airport. And I'd flown into this airport from Sao Paulo a few days earlier. It is much smaller than Buenos Aires' main airport, Ezeiza, but it is a lot closer to the city and, yeah, really handy in that respect. Now, back on our left now, we pass the Estadio Monumental, home to the River Plate football team. The stadium is the largest in Argentina, with a seating capacity of 76,000. Now, most of the national football teams' games are played here as well, and it's best to reach it by getting off at University here, which is quite typical of the modern stations we have along this line. And I was quite enjoying myself at this point. I even had a seating companion. The seats themselves, well, there's no padding, no headrests, and no armrests, no anything really, but at least they were clean, and legroom was absolutely fine. We were still in the main suburbs of Buenos Aires really, and after the stations of Padilla and Florida, the train had become quite busy. There's no air conditioning, you just pull the window down and or open the doors, and no USB provision, and definitely no Wi-Fi. There are overhead luggage racks on either side of the carriage, and at-seat catering is provided every so often from the many street vendors walking up and down the aisle. Any idea what this guy was selling? Let me know in the comments below. We arrived into Monroe, where there was a Retiro bound train similar to ours on the other platform. Well, all the trains I saw on this line were the same actually, though I understand some Alerce diesel multiple units operated by Trans-Argentinos also run between Retiro and Del Viso. You get a good look at the outside of the carriages here, and travel on these trains is of course standard class only, unless you're standing around in the goods van for any period of time, and believe me, you really don't want to be doing that. Back at my seat I had my ticket checked. Well, they checked my Suba card, the travel card I was telling you about earlier, which I think was basically to see if I had enough credit on it for the journey. Well, I did, having had to top it up yet again at the ticket office in Retiro. I basically had just told the guy at the counter where I wanted to go, and I gave him enough cash to load it onto the card. 900 Argentine pesos one way it was, which equates to about 60 pence sterling or 70 cents in euros. It's not bad value, is it that? Yeah, to be clear, you just cannot buy a ticket for this trip. You have to use the Suba card. You can buy Suba cards almost anywhere with cash or debit credit cards, but I was told that you can only load it with cash, which I did, mainly at metro stations. Now, if you're a resident in the country, you can register and then you can check your balance and take advantage of discounted fares. But as a foreigner, I couldn't do any of that, relying on the balance flashing up at the turnstile screens. But then that seemed like totally random as well. For example, I loaded it up with 3,000 Argentine pesos one night, and I took one journey. Then the next morning the balance was 490. So I don't know what was going on there. It was all a bit of a mystery to me, to be honest, but at least it was cheap. I mean, you can use a credit debit card at the turnstile, and that will cost you 590 Argentine pesos per journey at the time of this video. And I've got a few more thoughts on all this, which I'll share near the end, but for now, let's get back to the train. We just passed Boulogne-sur-Mer, a name familiar to me from much closer to home, but this was neither in France nor on the coast. I decided to go for a walk, though to be honest, all the carriages were pretty much the same. It was interesting to see that the passenger doors were generally open, and they afforded some of the best views from the train, which by this point was journeying through some open countryside, crossing the Reconquista River here, where the double track line splits into two bridges. To cover off the interior facilities, or lack of, you should note that there is no toilet provision on these trains. It's a commuter line really, which in itself doesn't sound that appealing, and for almost everybody else on here, yeah, it's just part of their day-to-day life. But I wanted to experience that, and I wanted to see what people did, normal things, food and drink sellers, all that kind of stuff. Well, I didn't see any other tourists on this train, and that suited me just fine. Now, I've got to admit, the open doors and windows, it just made it much more exciting than your normal multiple unit kind of thing, and at this point, it was all about the pleasure of travelling behind a powerful diesel locomotive, enjoying the sights and sounds that come with it. Don Torquato Station next, and with 50 minutes gone, we were over halfway through our journey already. It makes such a difference being able to stand at an open doorway because, well, it's something I don't get to experience that often, whereas in some parts of the world it's just no big deal at all. And it was quite a popular place to be. I was joined by somebody else for some of the way as we passed through what looked like a more affluent suburb, and then came to a halt at the level crossing just before Estación Adolfo Sourdough, named after a prominent French engineer who was influential in the forming of the General Party Sarmiento, which later became the Malvinas Argentinas Party. Now, the word party here actually refers to an area rather than anything political, and many of the other stations like Villa de Mayo here serve areas contained within this particular party. Well, I guess it's the same as parish boundaries possibly, but do let me know in the comments below if you can add any more detail to this. Right then guys, well, yeah, an interesting train journey this is. Just come out of Grand Bourg. I've been on the train now about an hour and 20 minutes. Still a little bit to run yet, so it's certainly value for money, I'll give it that. There are not many facilities on the train, although if you want something to eat, then the street vendors kind of come up and down the train every so often, which is good. But yeah, it's an interesting experience, and it's great to be able to stand in the doors, in my opinion. I haven't been able to do that since the Douro Valley line in Portugal, especially on a day like this because it is quite hot. Obviously there's no air conditioning or anything like that either. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, and yeah, it's certainly an interesting journey so far. With just a few stops to go, I went back to the open door to ride the last couple of miles. Estación Cecilia Grierson is the penultimate station on the line, opened in just 2024 and serving the town of Bologna in the Pilar Party. It is named after the first woman to receive a medical degree in Argentina. And as we get closer to our final destination, I just wanted to return to the issue of travel cards. I've been to quite a few major cities now where I've had to negotiate various methods of paying for public transport, and for me, I just can't help thinking that it would be so much easier for tourists, or foreigners as some countries put it, to have something like a 1-day or 3-day unlimited travel card type of thing, and charge a bit more for it by all means, and yeah, that would be fine. I don't think visitors mind paying a little bit more for convenience and hassle-free travel, and I certainly don't. And otherwise, you've got all the bother of buying these cards, getting cash out to top them up, and topping them up some more, and getting some more cash out, queuing up at one of the ticket booths. Well, it's just one massive pain in my opinion. On this particular journey, I had to make sure I had enough cash with me to top up my card for the way back later on, and I didn't even know if the ticket office was open at Villa Rosa or not, and mind you, it didn't help that there was a massive dog asleep in front of it. But yeah, surely the option to purchase an unlimited travel card, albeit more expensive within reason, is just a win-win situation for everyone. In cities where these do exist, Porto for example, it is so much easier. I guess it's kind of interesting to see how different countries approach these things, and you do have to just get on with it really. It is all part of the experience. Anyway, here we are speeding into the station at Villa Rosa, serving the town of the same name and also in the Pilar Party. And most of these stations look the same, don't they? And yeah, although did you notice the old water tower as we approached the platform? Nice to see that that has been preserved. I jumped down onto the platform, and there is no waiting until 10 seconds after we've stopped for the doors to start beeping and the open door button to illuminate, is there? And we're back in the UK. If I'm nearest the door, I always think, maybe if I don't press the button quickly enough, I wonder if the people behind will start huffing and puffing. Or maybe I'll press the wrong one on purpose. I don't really, but yeah, it is a precious situation, isn't it, that? But I went to watch our locomotive being uncoupled and making its way back down the line to form the head of the service back to Retiro. And after wandering around the pretty nondescript town for a bit, I headed back to the platform where I just took a couple of minutes to summarise the journey. Alright then guys, Villa Rosa. It was about an hour and 40 minutes it took on the train from Retiro in the centre of Buenos Aires. And you've got to admit, there's not a lot to do here. I've had a little bit of a look around, had a bit of a wander around the streets, bought myself some food and drink, and yeah, that's about it. But it wasn't really about the place, was it? It was about the ride up here, the Loco-hauled service. And yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it, with those coaches and the ability to be able to stand in the doorway. I love that kind of thing, and it happens. It's very rare that it happens these days, isn't it? But yeah, I'm glad I made the effort. Yeah, I could have gone to Tigre, and I'm sure that is a much more exciting place. Maybe I'll go there this evening, actually. But you know, the train ride is less exciting for sure. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm sure I will catch you on another adventure soon. Just waiting for my train back now, and it's not that one. That one's gone. Some kind of random one carriage Loco-hauled thing that is. I don't know where that's going or what it's doing. But yeah, like I said, thank you very much for watching. I'm sure I will catch you on another adventure soon. And until the next time, guys, cheers for now.